Cool. We can start and then start over. Take two. Okay, we can wait. We will wait. Everyone go and get their lunch and bring it back, and then we'll see you back here in 10. Hello. Afterwards, yeah, definitely.
It always seems like the front seat's full of glass. Don't be afraid. Come on in. You won't bite, right?
No, I'm going to stare at everyone in the front row and make them feel really uncomfortable. pretty cool.
This is their assignment was to find something that kind of stood out to them about their story. And then make it a template of just explanation.
Come on in. You're good. It's actually going to be recorded. Oh, it is? Okay. The cards, so I have to put it on the website, the diversity and inclusion website after. So, as soon as I can get it up there, I will.
Whoa.
Popular guy. Is chair occupied over on this side? Is that an empty chair? Empty chair? We have one chair. One chair over here.
I think it'll be all right. If you kind of sit on the edge right here, you have to climb under the rail, but you can still sit on the edge. Also, you can sit on the steps, but they're kind of low, so if you're sitting on the steps, you're not gonna be able to see much. But on the rail right here, on this little half wall here, shows this little rail.
About 2 minutes till.
All right. We need to. Oh, okay. We don't need to stall for 2 minutes?
I don't know.
How's everybody feeling? Everybody need 2 minutes of rest, or are we good to go? Okay.
I'll give a little intro and then we'll get started. Come on in. Standing room only, unfortunately, this time. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brianna Andrews. I'm the Diversity and Inclusion Faculty Lead here on campus. If you haven't yet got a contact card, make sure you pick one up after the session. I'll leave them up front. That way, the session will be recorded. You can find it at the website given here. We also have a Facebook page and email address so you can get a hold of us for future events and whatnot. So I will leave those up front. How many of you read If at Birth You Don't Succeed?
Whoa.
Right? You enjoy it? We are very
Who
lucky-
thought it sucked? Just a quick show of hands.
I don't see anybody.
Okay.
So we're very lucky to have Zack here today. Lynn Lowe, one of our reading professors, came up with the idea of having you guys read this text and bringing it to campus as well as bringing Zack. So we can give a lot of that credit to her. I think she just stepped out of the room, so she's not hearing this right now. That's okay. I'll repeat it again tonight. So today's session right now is a question and answer. How it's going to work. A lot of you submitted cards already that have questions on them. Unfortunately, we can't get to all of them. There were many, many, many cards, and it won't just fit in the 50 minutes we have here. So we'll get through as many as we can, and I'll stop about a half hour into it and allow you guys to ask whatever questions left that you have on your mind. So it's not only the pre-scripted questions, but we'll open it up to you guys as well. Cool? Cool. Tonight's performance structure, so if you're free and available and want a second dose, come on over and join us there. We'll have a biographical presentation.
I'm going to be watching a lot of videos, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll probably be wearing the same shirt, but I might undo one button because it's nighttime. So,
Get a little more comfortable. So, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you guys all for coming. You ready?
Yeah, thank you so much for reading the book and having me, guys.
So these are in no particular order. If you wouldn't have gotten involved in the TV industry, what do you foresee yourself doing for a living?
Well, if I often joke, and it's only sort of a half joke, of, like being an entertainer is pretty much the singular talent that I have. And it feels kind of a dark way to start, but I often, I really empathize with homeless people, because I had moments in my life where I was like, what's my path going to be? What am I going to be able to do? How am I going to be able to use my skills as being a goofball and somebody that can talk to people and actually make a career out of that? So people often say, like a career in the entertainment industry is sort of like a pipe dream or whatever. But really, for me, it was the only choice. And I think that's what made it possible, is because I didn't know what else there was to do. And I have other passions and things, but it seemed like entertainment was a place for me to explore things that I was really passionate about, and have a voice where everything else was sort of like, I'm not going to be doing manual labor, obviously. So it was the one choice for me.
And I forgot to mention too, if there's anything that he says that triggers a question, you go ahead and raise your hand. We can kind of bounce it around that way. So, what did you do when your book first released to the public? Did you celebrate in any way?
I went to In-N-Out Burger. And this is kind of funny. We because Jillian and I, who, if you've read the book, she was my girlfriend, and we wrote the book together. We celebrated together, and we bought a bottle of champagne and then took it to In-N-Out Burger. We had the launch here, and I was like, this has to be a photo. So that's the photo that ended up in People magazine. Yeah. So it's, that's how I celebrated. Because how else would you celebrate 2 years of work? It's got to do animal style, right? Like, yeah.
What was the hardest part of writing and publishing your book?
I think writing and publishing it was the hardest part. No, I mean, honestly, I think the struggle was, the first drafts are a little bit easier. And then when you realize, you start editing and going through those things, it's like exciting to tell your story at first. And then when you start worrying about, oh my gosh, people are actually going to read this. Should I put this in here? That's like a real struggle. And just sort of letting your guard down enough to realize that even the more embarrassing things are going to have value to people, and that even though you feel like, oh, I don't want people to read this, there's something to that. If you have that instinct of like, I'm scared to put this out there, it probably means that there's a lot of truth to it. So coming to terms with that, I think, is one of the biggest struggles.
Would you try to do any show? What other ideas for shows do you have for the future?
Would it, well, you mean like be on like the Kardashians or something, or? I think for me, it would really depend on the concept and the show itself. And I've been pretty lucky to be able to explore a lot of realms that I'm really interested in. We did have a little faith where I explored different religions, and we got to do, Top of the Monday with Soul Pancake, which was just like a good news show where every Monday morning I put out like just good news stories that aren't going to depress people, And so I think the way that I develop concepts is what am I really interested in? So I think, I've done a lot of travel stuff now, and with the political climate the way it is, anything that I do next is really going to be focused on building empathy and exploring different people in different walks of life, which is pretty much what I do always. But I feel like it's more necessary now than ever. So I don't exactly know what the next move is going to be, but it's going to be something that gives a voice to a population that generally gets misunderstood. So, I don't know. Yeah.
How would you describe school growing up for you?
Depends what years. Grade school is great. And I think the only thing that's awful about grade school is you don't realize how easy it is until you're way out of it. And then high school was awful for me. I really didn't like it. And what you don't realize when you're in high school is that the high school doesn't matter. This school that you're in right now is the only education that matters, really, I think. That and kindergarten, learning how to share and be a decent human being and not push people. And then college. That's all you need. But I really do think that you're in school now for what you guys want to do and the type of people that you want to become, and that is, I feel like the focus should be more on that in our education system. Individualized instruction and helping people find their paths based on what they want to do. So yeah. Who motivates me? Well, I gotta say, it's not a person. I mean, I have incredible people in my life that do a lot to help me get to where I want to go and do what I want to do. And I feel like, being motivated is my part of the bargain, honoring what they put into it. But what really motivates me is to shine a light on things and ask questions that get interesting answers, because I think that's sort of what our purpose is in life, is to try and answer those big questions and engage with things that make us uncomfortable, and try and build empathy and sympathy for people who have differences. So I guess it's just like really what motivates me is what do I find interesting? And the thing about the world is there is an infinite number of interesting things always going on, and even the most boring stuff, even the stuff that you wouldn't look at, like that's the whole reason behind like an Olive Garden chapter. It's like the Olive Garden is not altogether interesting, but it's interesting why there is an Olive Garden and why people go and why it's inspired this loyalty. And you can look around at any Olive Garden and find 100 different stories that you'll never get a chance to know, right? So that to me is like, that's so interesting, and it's also the most beautiful thing, and the saddest thing is that there are so much that we won't get a chance to know.
What is left on your bucket list?
My bucket list? Well, gosh. I don't know, because the more things that I do that are actually on my bucket list, I'm convinced that one of those things will actually kill me. So, I mean, we just got back from like Nicaragua a couple weeks ago. I went volcano surfing there, which is basically my friends carried me up the side of a volcano, and then they had and you. Before we went into it, we're like, oh, this must be a regulated thing that they do in Nicaragua. No, it's like you got two guys that basically have these pieces of plywood, and they're like, oh yeah, we got some goggles and stuff. You're gonna need some goggles because a lot of volcanic rock flies in your face while you're sliding down this and then as you're going up the mountain, they keep telling you about all the people that have broken their legs on this run, and they're like, and they think it's like a great story, but I don't. So I mean, I think what's on my bucket list? Relax, get a hot tub inside my house. I don't know. Just make as much cool stuff as possible. I mean, I feel like the more stuff you make, the more proof there is that you were here and you had something to say. So, I mean, I just like making stuff. Hang gliding? No. Is this like an offer that leads to something, or is it just like? Okay. You've never been either. Well, I would like one expert to go with us. All right. I went skydiving, which was great. That was fantastic. But because the thing about skydiving is before you jump out of a plane, you basically have to make peace with the idea that you may die. And you're like, oh, well, it'll be 3 minutes of fun or an untimely death. And I'm fine with either result. But it was really a beautiful experience to be able to see the world from a different perspective and be above it. Just when your chute opens, everything is so quiet, and you realize that all the things that you're experiencing when you're down on the ground, all those little things, that seem so important aren't really that important, and you see sort of like the way the world comes together. You see the lines of the property lines, and it looks like this big sort of map of the whole world, except you're like seeing like just the one area of Texas that you sky dove over. Dive? English? No one? Yeah. So, no, but I would recommend anyone try extreme sports as long as you are okay with what you've done in your life.
Kind of relates to the next question. You've done so much in your life. What is one experience that you've had that you would recommend everyone try?
I think every person, whether it's internationally or just around the country, just travel. Put yourself out of your comfort zone. Try to experience things that aren't in guidebooks. That I'm a big fan of not planning so much stuff and just going out and trying to just see what you find, explore. So I guess whether it's exploring by traveling or just exploring just your own neighborhood and going to places that you haven't been before, just do that. Yeah, and also I would recommend, if you can, get an electric wheelchair and drive around in it, because it will change your perspective. You'll be like, I don't know why I was feeling sad for people with disabilities. This is easy and fun. This is all BS. So steal someone's wheelchair is basically what I'm saying. It's okay. I got extras. It's fine. I can be carted around until I get on the plane home. It's all right.
Well, I was going to ask maybe still kids, but
You. Oh, that's okay. and talk to me after. Well,
If you could change anything in your life, what would you change and why?
I think I would change my own drive because it looks like I do a lot, but there's a lot of time that I waste. And I know that, I've been able to do some incredible things, but I often think, man, if I could just focus, I could get so much more done. So I think I would become one of those. I would become like you, Brianna, because you get a lot. It seems she told me she gets up at 5:30 in the morning, and who does that? I didn't even know there was a 5:30 in the morning. So, I think, just being more organized with my own life, I would change that.
Have you ever been beaten down at the point of changing your career of being a comedian and how you handle emotions and stress?
I thought that was going to be have I ever been beaten up with. And the answer to that question would have been no, but I've definitely deserved it. But as far as beaten down emotionally to the point of changing my career, I feel like I'm constantly changing my career. The encompassing thing is I'm a comedian, but I also explore all sorts of other things, and I feel like my whole career is just constantly dodging irrelevance and going to the next thing so that I can keep learning and growing, and then my audience can keep learning and growing with me. So I don't think you should ever settle into one thing, and no matter what you do, you should always be trying to evolve.
What did your parents think when you published your book and included so many personal details?
Well, I was a little nervous about that, but luckily my parents are pretty cool. It was definitely, that was what I was most nervous about publishing it, was, having my mom read about manscaping. I was like, that was not something that I looked forward to, but it turns out and that's the thing too, is she's so cool that she's wants to talk to me about how much she loved those things, and I'm like, don't even tell me that you read it. It's fine. So my dad basically just wanted to make sure that he came off well, which is that's been all my friends too. Immediately they just flip to find their names in the book. So it all worked out well.
How did you first react when you started to become a role model for kids with disabilities all around the country?
To be honest, I was scared shitless because I never set out to be a role model, and that's such a big responsibility because people with disabilities are so rarely in the media that whenever there is a person, a lot falls on their shoulders. And I was like, I've done a ton of stuff that I am not proud of, that would not fit the MO of what it's supposed to be a role model, right? So, but I've sort of grown into it in that, I realized that being so imperfect is part of the reason I can be a role model, because I feel like anyone that tries to say, "Oh, I'm a role model because I do everything right and I'm a great person and definitely never stole napkins out of a Dunkin' Donuts." Like, anyone that says that, it's like, you're lying. You definitely, in college, you use whatever you can as toilet paper. That's the way it goes. You guys know what I'm talking about. I think basically I accepted being a role model as long as I was like, oh, I'll be a role model, but I'll be myself. And if it ever starts to veer away from that, then I'll just follow my instinct. And I think that has actually made me a better person, to be aware that people are, looking to me. But also, like, I took the pressure off. When the Oprah stuff happened, I was like, I've done so many not Oprah things. And then I kind of got over it.
I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor to anybody who has questions and want to personally ask. If there are none, we'll continue with the card. You guys the opportunity?
So, at the end of the book, it was kind of like a happily ever after 30th birthday type thing. What happened with Jillian?
No, okay. All right. Well, Jillian and I are not together, but we're still like friends and working together. And it is sort of, it's been tricky, but it's also, when you love somebody and you think they're a great person, and you've written a whole book together, and that's been, shared 2 years of your lives. It's like, I understand that it's much easier for people to be like, oh, I broke up with this person, I hate this person. But I can't do that. I think she's too wonderful a human being, and and I think that it's definitely a process of communication and making sure that you're just looking out for each other, and that's something that I'm really proud of. Is we still are on each other's teams. It's like that Lorde song or whatever. What's her name? Lorde? Is it? Lorde would be like if there was like a Latin version of Lord, right? So, yeah. Yes, and tomorrow I'm going to stay at her house. Yeah. We're still like best friends.
Why are you afraid of animals?
Because they're terrifying. No, I mean, there are certain animals that I'm afraid of. I've come around to dogs. Jillian was very helpful in helping me not think that I was going to get my head bitten off by small dogs. And I just feel like I'm down on the ground a lot, out of the chair, so I'm at like animal height. So I feel like I am not superior to them, at least physically in any way. So just really, I'm a wuss, basically. Yep. Yeah, actually, I constantly make music that I will never let anyone hear. But it's more like therapy to me, because I can express things musically that I can't with words or in videos or anything like that. Well, people had been asking me to write a book for a long time, and I didn't feel as though I had perspective enough on my own story to tell it in a way that would have value. And then, as luck would have it, some things were happening in my life. I met Jillian around the same time that we were doing starting the proposal. And then we started working together and writing together, and something just clicked. And it was also a personal milestone for me, because I had the answer to a question that I spent my whole life wondering if it was possible, which is, am I worthy of finding a partner, of being loved in in this way. And when I had those answers and I found a great writing partner, things just sort of like started flowing from there. And I think it took, having a couple successes and stumbles along the way for me to say, okay, I know that what I have to say is going to have an impact and is worthy of being a book. Yes, absolutely. Yes. No, I mean, I think we would have gone. I don't know that we would have found her, but I think the ending of that chapter of us, coming up on Cindy's mansion and being invited in, I think that is pretty much how it would have gone.
Do you still affiliate yourself with Kohl's? Like, you still shop there?
I still shop at Kohl's. My fashion has evolved slightly, but I definitely will still go shop at Kohl's, and especially if they want to fund my wardrobe, I will wear them with pride.
We have another question. Who is your favorite superhero and why?
I think if I was to choose my favorite superhero, it would be Aquaman, because nobody really gives a shit about Aquaman. Nobody else would answer that question that way, and I feel like he would be really happy that I said that. So Aquaman. I'm looking for the honorary degrees at this point, but to be honest, it's something I would love to do. And if things, if I had the time, I would love to come back and just have that checked off. And college was a great experience for me. And I just have to figure out a way that I can actually pass Spanish, and then I'll graduate.
We were working on our American Sign Language last night.
Okay, well maybe I should take that instead.
You're welcome anytime. Do you hate it when people treat you differently?
Depends on what the difference is. Like if they start they're like, here's this lobster and filet mignon and your limousine is waiting, then no, not at all. No, I mean, to be honest, I get treated differently a lot. And I don't hate it. I know that it comes from a good place, a place of misunderstanding and in some cases ignorance, but no one has malicious intent. So I try to keep that in mind when I'm being, either dismissed or patronized. And it's not, it's not the worst thing in the world. And I feel like opportunities like that are good for me to gently educate, So, yeah.
What are some of your most proudest milestones?
I think for me, the milestone of, and this is something that not a lot of people will relate to, but when I was finally able to make a living and I used to be on Social Security. And when I could make my own living and I knew that I had a place in the world and that I could hold a job and that people liked and respected my work, that was just a huge thing for me. I think the book was definitely another one because I never thought it would have been possible. I don't generally have the focus or the concentration to do long things like that. And it was when it finally was done, it was just like, oh my gosh, this is finally what I've been trying to say for years in a book. So I mean, it was pretty wonderful.
Do you still have your lucky purple underwear?
What kind of a question is that? To be honest, no, that was thrown out the day of, and it served its purpose. And I do have other purple underwear, but I don't know if I would ever feel comfortable wearing that same pair again.
Who's been your favorite person that you met?
Favorite, like, I don't know. I've met a lot of people. And like meeting Oprah was great. It was wonderful. It was a beautiful experience to be able to like sit that close and have a genuine conversation. But it's also really nice to just meet people at events like this. And you know that, like, most of us probably won't get a chance to see each other again. But I love having the little interactions and getting to know people, and just like being able to share in a moment with people and realize that what I'm doing, other people appreciate. I like to learn about you guys, and that's what's fun for me, really. Well, music is one. I generally like to. I collect piano libraries, actually, of different pianos that have been sampled. So there's all these like old pianos that I have that are all like loaded into my computer. I love piano because my grandma was a piano teacher and an organist, and so jazz music and piano is like one of my passions. I love to go see great jazz shows and stuff. And then basically I'm in the very lucky position that my passions and my hobbies are also my career. So I mean, we're at a place now where we all get to make silly videos for a living. My brother works for Rooster Teeth, and all of my friends work for Rooster Teeth, and we all basically we have days at work. Like, I get to strip and sing D'Angelo for work, and not many people can say that. I think only one other person could say, D'Angelo could say that. But so yeah, I'm in a very fortunate place where my hobbies and my actual work intersect.
Knowing how successful your life is with all the obstacles that you've been through, what advice can you give us as students to overcome our obstacles to become successful?
The best advice that I can give you is, I don't want to give you any empty platitudes or anything like that. But what I can say is, if you have a sense about something that you want to do and it matches up with what your abilities are, like, that's important. You got to pursue that. And I think you're at the age where you can make mistakes and you can take big chances. And I would suggest going for it. And I think if it doesn't work out, you'll know, right? But if you never try, you'll never know. And that's something that a lot of people say, but I can't stress it enough. When I had my big break with the Oprah audition, that was something I almost didn't do because I was like, what are the odds? And the odds are a lot better if you try and keep trying. So I think if you're struggling, because I know there are a lot of things that get in the way, financially things, you just have to make sure that you are feeding your passions in whatever way you can, because there is no better feeling than being fulfilled. And nothing else will do it. Money won't do it. Fame won't do it. But if you put work out into the world that you're proud of, and if you're doing something that you love, that does it. You can expect one, but you're going to have to wait. I'm currently in the process of sketching out what a second book might be. And it's a difficult thing because it's like, okay, I told the first 30 years of my life in one book. What else do I have to say? And I think the only reason I would do a second book is because I have something else to say. And it turns out, after much searching, I was like, oh, okay, there's this. So it's so early, though, that I don't want to, say it and then have you guys be like, oh, that sucks. Because by the time you see it, it'll be good.
How do you feel about making public appearances?
I hate them. It's the worst. This is just so awful. No, I'm kidding. I love making public appearances. This is amazing. I'm not one of those people that has stage fright, so it's just feels natural to me. And I'm lucky to be here. I'm lucky that anybody wants to pay attention to work that I do. So, yeah, I love it.
Where's the most exotic place that you've traveled?
Gosh. Well, I went to Amsterdam recently, and you know what they do in Amsterdam, right? So, here's the thing. I'm not big into those things. So for me, it was more about getting seafood and stuff. And so I got a 7-pound lobster that I didn't know was going to be that huge. And you can eat enough lobster to be sick of it. It was the most privileged thing I had ever done. It was getting a lobster and being like, okay, that's gross, that's enough. Get this away. And I went with my buddy Aaron, and he went into one of the pot places, the marijuana establishments. And as soon as he got there and he got his little bag of stuff, then somebody immediately recognized him from Rooster Teeth. And he was just smoking. And it's well, that's why I don't smoke. Because I'm thinking, at any point someone's going to walk up to me and be like, aren't you from Oprah? So, yeah, I mean, I don't know how exotic that is. Nicaragua was pretty exotic and cool. But I still haven't gone deep into the jungles of places. Once they start putting ramps in the rainforest, maybe I'll go.
We have some audience questions. Who traveled with you when you came here?
Oh, my brother Brad is here. So yeah, he travels with me when he can get off of work, and he edits, a lot of my videos. So I mean, it's nice that we like doing the same stuff.
Is he here in this room or is he right?
Yes, he's here in this room somewhere. Can we get? There we go. Wait, now That's not awkward at all. Is it Brad just being pointed at? Like, okay.
Please, more questions? Yes, go ahead.
So you talked about your brother getting recognized. How often do you get recognized? Is it like quite often?
It's usually when I like haven't showered. And it's I would say about 3 times a day, which is that's the amount that I would like. Any more than that, and it would start getting weird. But like, but yeah, everywhere that I go, it seems like people are either pointing at me for Workout Wednesday or for Oprah stuff or for Have a Little Faith, and it's very different. The crowds that know me for different things, like there, I think it was in New York City, and a mom with 3 kids stopped me, and she was saying Oprah, and then this guy in Central Park with like no shoes on was like, "Hey, Workout Wednesday," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's about right." I love them all. Like, I would love to get all the crowds. I don't know what other markets I need to like hit. I can't start doing motherhood vlogs, so I don't know. I'm this guy. And I'm the one that likes the idea of watching scary movies, and then I'm like in the kitchen doing this.
What type of music do you like to listen to?
This is the worst question, and it's not your fault, but it's because I'm one of those guys that legitimately listens to everything. And if it's got a good melody and it moves me in some way, I don't care where it's from. So it's I hate to like do that and sit and be that guy, but I am that guy. I like everything.
Tell us about your experience in Germany.
Oh, gosh, I love Germany. Germany's the best. I went to Berlin, and the thing about Berlin is that the public transportation is so good, and they will apologize to you if they are like 30 seconds late with the train. And they will be upset with you if you make the train 30 seconds late. And the food is like so good, but so cheap. And for me, all of the bathrooms were like super accessible and super clean, which I love. I would move to a place based on bathrooms alone. And really just enjoyed the culture and just so many fun, nice people. So I went back. I went back in the summer, and it's just like, man, I would live here if I didn't love free refills on soda so much. Well, I think it's just like I'm addicted to high fructose corn syrup, and everything tastes better and is more natural over there. But it's like heroin. What am I supposed to do?
Any other audience questions? We have about 5 minutes left, so get them in. Yes, sir.
I'm sure a lot of us want to be entertainers. We see ourselves as entertainers in the future. What do you think of obviously it's hard to become a successful entertainer, but now that you've made it, what do you think of the best and the worst parts of it?
The best and the worst parts of being an entertainer? Well, the best part is that you have an audience and you're getting to say something, and we're very lucky to live in a time where everybody has a platform if they want one. You can put something on YouTube, and if people respond to it, then you'll get an audience, right? And the worst part, I think, is just, there are times when you're hustling. It's basically a hustle. You got to go from job to job, right? So, and you were wondering, oh man, it would be so much easier if I just had a steady paycheck and did something that was a little bit simpler. But then it's like, it's exciting too, of like, oh, what am I going to do next? This just ended. So, I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty that goes along with it. And if you're willing to embrace that, then I think you'll have a good time.
How many appearances do you do on average per year?
It really depends on the year. Like this year, I'm done probably maybe like, well, it's hard to say because with book tours and everything, it seems like I'm traveling every couple weeks. So a lot, but it's fun.
What advice do you have for someone who has a hard time with self-discipline?
Oh, I'm looking for your advice. No, I would say surround yourself with good people. That, I tend to work best in groups, and I work really, really hard in groups. But then when I get lost in my own mind, I have a really hard time getting stuff done. So I would surround yourself with people that can help accentuate your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. So, like, don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. A lot of times in entertainment especially, there's this emphasis on being like an auteur and doing everything yourself. I say that's bogus. Find people who can fill in what your gaps are.
What is your favorite food aside from Olive Garden breadsticks?
Well, that's also one of those questions of like, there's so many good foods, right? I think the ice cream, sundaes and things.
What's the craziest thing you've ever eaten?
Craziest thing I've ever eaten. I definitely have eaten some baby things that I've felt bad about. I had I could tell you the absolute worst thing I've ever eaten in my life, which was pigeon. And I ate this in Germany, actually, so this was one of my not great meals. And it was at this really fancy restaurant, and they brought out the red meat course, which was pigeon, and it looked like pigeon, and it tasted like you think a pigeon would taste. And it's like, this is a fancy restaurant, and you're just pulling in pigeons off the street. So, like, it was not something I would recommend.
Any last questions? We're about to wrap up this session.
Would you advocate the invention of all-terrain amphibious wheelchairs?
Well, if I was an amphibious, yes. No, yeah, absolutely. We need all-terrain wheelchairs because I like to go to the ocean. I like to go on the mountain. Yeah, do it. Do it. Are you planning to do it, or are you just throwing the question out there? Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. Anything that makes life easier for me, I'm a strong advocate of. Thank you. Thank you guys so much.